Senator Rick Santorum. We just found out that our alarm system at our house is made right here, so how about that? Well, let me thank them for opening up their facility and thank you for making it made in America right here in Missouri. We love that. Thank you. And let me thank our new signature band for the Santorum campaign, First Love. Let me thank you so much for that. Bless you. And let me, of course, start out by saying, I don't know if you've been here in gathering, but we've had a very, very good day in our neighboring state of Kansas. We are going to win Kansas and the vast majority of delegates from Kansas. A comfortable win of right now about 90% of the vote in, of about 53% of the vote. How about that? Now, it's not quite as good as what you folks did in Missouri a few weeks back. But we are so appreciative. And when I say we, let me first, of course, introduce the folks up here on the stage with me. And hopefully you're getting to know at least one of these people back here a little better. And in fact, when you get home tonight, you get a chance to watch the Huckabee program. We just taped a segment of Mike Huckabee's program tonight. And I was smart enough to keep my mouth shut and let Karen speak most of the time. And she has been traveling with me. One of the reasons we did so well is that Karen went and spoke to about 2,500 people in Wichita at their caucus, and she ended up with about 1,700 of the 2,500 votes. Not bad. So. And so Karen has been obviously, Karen and I have been married 21 years, and we have 7 amazing children, and one of whom, John, is here, our oldest boy. Our other daughter we just sent off, tough duty. We sent her to, because we got another primary on Tuesday. Everybody's talking about Alabama and Mississippi, but there's another one, and she has the tough duty of going to Hawaii to campaign for her. As John just said to me, there is an advantage of being the oldest. And so John is here with us and campaigning. He was with his mom and campaigning through Kansas, and Karen is here with me also. And this is a family effort because, as you know, this campaign puts family first, which is the foundation of our country. Well, I'm very excited, obviously very, very excited to be back here. And I really do want to say, on behalf of all of us, you know, this campaign, we were just one of those things where we had a great day in Iowa in the early part of January, and we didn't quite win, and then later on we did win, and it was sort of a victory, but not as great a victory as it could have been, and because of the delayed result 2 weeks after the caucus was taken, and then we had went through a little rough patch in some states that didn't necessarily match up with us very well. And most of the folks were asking me the question, why are you still in this race? I went out and campaigned in Missouri and Colorado and Minnesota. And that day, I kept saying to the folks here, you just stick with us. You go out and vote for your values. And trust what you know, because you don't live in New York City, you don't live in Los Angeles. You live, like most Americans, in between those two cities. And you know that the values you believe in, not only the values that built the greatest country in the history of the world, but the values that are still in the hearts of all Americans, right? You go out and don't listen to the pundits and just vote what you think is the right thing to do. And things have an amazing way of working out. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for sticking up for what you believe in. I know there's so many folks out there who are critical of politicians, rightfully so, for not standing tall and sticking up for what they believe in. But we've got that same issue in this campaign when it comes to voters. We've got a lot of voters who are saying, well, I just got to win. Well, isn't that what the Tea Party folks and conservatives always criticize folks in Congress about? Well, you got to just pass it. You just got to win. You got to get something done, even if it's the wrong thing to get done. That's why it's important that we follow through. Missouri gave us a huge shot in the arm a few weeks back. Now, I wanted to come back and say thank you, but as you know, the job is not done. You make us work twice as hard here in Missouri to get the job done. So we are going to work twice as hard. We're spending the day here in Missouri. We just obviously came from Kansas the rest of the day here, and we'll be back a couple more times before next Saturday, and we're going to continue to work hard and drive through and make sure that everybody gets out to those caucuses and that we have just as big a win in about 10 days as we did about a month ago. So that's why we're here today, and that's why we thank you for being here today. I want to get right to the numbers. I want to get right to the numbers. This election's about big things. This is an important election. You've heard everybody say it on our side of the aisle that this may be the most important election in our lifetime. And I believe it is the most important election. We have to have a nominee who can get up there and draw a clear contrast with the President of the United States. Right. Yep. You hear now the media starting to say, oh, well, it looks like the economy's getting better. You know, the economy may be getting better and the Republicans may lose their edge on that issue. Well, if that was the only issue in this race, that may or may not be the case. We don't know. The point is, that's the point. We don't know what the big issue of the day is going to be when it comes to national security. It may be the dominant issue. National security with Iran on the precipice of getting a nuclear weapon, Israel feeling increasingly isolated by this administration. President Obama said at AIPAC this week that he has Israel's back. The next day I went there and said, no, you have turned your back on Israel. Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech. It was a speech from a man pleading from a country that is being targeted for annihilation by a bunch of radical Islamists. Well, you know what? They mean what they say. The President of the United States may not think we're in a holy war. They do. Right? They believe they're in a holy war. And they are out there specifically targeting Israel and the Jewish people. We've seen this before. We don't want to see it again. And we need a president who's going to stand up and make sure that never happens. I may not have been a Wall Street private equity fund manager, but I served 8 years on the Armed Services Committee. I led the charge identifying Iran's nuclear program 9 years ago, authored bills to put sanctions to stop it. We're not electing a CEO, we're electing a commander-in-chief, and there's one person who has experience doing it. People say my tough stance on Iran is warmongering. Just the opposite. Just the opposite. When I introduced that bill back in 2004, I introduced that bill because I wanted to prevent a war. The people that we're dealing with in Iran the radicals who are in control, do not reflect the values of the people of Iran. Remember, Iran is a Persian country. It is a Persian country with a great and rich civilization, one that, as we know, is not hostile to Jews, historically. And so the idea that you have these radical Islamists there, threatening Israel, goes against the grain of the culture of that country. And yet we have a president who, when we had the opportunity to join with the Persian people against these radical Islamists, he said no. He joined with Ahmadinejad back in 2009. Well, in 2004, I said, let's join with them 8 years ago. Let's join with the Persian people. Let's join with them and help them take back their country from these thugs. That's not because I want a war. That's because I want to prevent a war.
Right.